Welcome to the Lead at the Top of Your Game podcast, where we equipped you to more effectively lead your seat at any employer, business, or industry in which you choose to play. Each week, we help you sharpen your leadership acumen by cracking open the playbooks of dynamic leaders who are doing big things in their professional endeavors. And now your host, leadership tactics and organizational development expert, Karan Rhodes.
Hey there, superstars. This is Karen, and welcome to another episode of the Lead at the Top of Your Game podcast. So, one of my guilty pleasures is following the entertainment industry of all types. Sports, celebrities, models, actors, you name it. It's clickbait for me. I'm the advertiser's dream when it comes to entertainment. So when I had the chance to actually invite a leader in her own right, who's a model and who's survived over 20 years in this industry, I had to jump at the opportunity. And I'm so pleased to have on today's show, Amy Taylor we'll just say Amy Taylor Modeling. She has a site, Amy Taylor, and owns all the copyrights to all of that. She's absolutely fantastic. And she's been on the covers of many publications such as Muscle and Fitness, Playboy, a ton of them, as well as also being inside Sports Illustrated and GQ. She's been on billboards in Times Square. And if those of you who are on the YouTube channel and version of this, you'll see why, because she's absolutely drop dead gorgeous. And I can say that comfortably as a woman. She's just fabulous. And I so admire her longevity and her insights into the modeling industry. And she's going to give us a sneak peek into the good, bad, and spicy of the modeling industry. So welcome to the podcast, Amy. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much. It's so fun to chat with you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm dying to pick your brain and learn about, like I said, the good, bad, and spicy of the modeling industry. And I'm sure our listeners are too. But before we do that, we always love to learn a little bit more about our guests. So for as much as you feel comfortable, would you mind giving us a sneak peek into your life outside of modeling?
Yeah, so I'm a daughter, a sister, a friend, a neighbor. On a typical day, like if I'm not working or traveling or something, I hang out a lot with my dog. I live in Manhattan, so tiny apartments, not a lot of parkland. So I usually have to take him somewhere so that he can bully some squirrels and get some nature, and me too, get some nature. And then, we have a million cultural events, places to eat. So maybe I'll grab lunch and or dinner with some neighbors and friends. There's always something to do in New York. That's why one lives here.
Yeah.
I do have to stay fit, and I like to. So a day will typically involve at least some form of exercise. Also, the city is your gym. You walk a lot here.
Yes.
And then just the standard stuff, errands, life. There's a lot of back-end computer work in what I do, booking shoots. I have a publicist and all the typical staff, webmaster, lawyer, CPA, all those things.
Yeah.
But I do a lot myself because I like to. So
Sure.
just kind of the typical day. And a lot of other days I'm traveling somewhere, either for business or pleasure. And then on shoot days, it's a lot of sleep the night before, a lot of hydration, so I don't look any wrinklier than I want to. And after shoots, it's a big carb heavy meal. No better
bet.
meal than pizza after a shoot.
I bet you're probably craving it like nobody's business. And can I
Right.
say, there's one thing about you I read in your bio I'm a little jealous about, you being a pilot. How cool
Oh,
is that?
yeah. So my mom's dad was an aviator in the Air Force. She was an Air Force brat, lived on base all over the country. I think it might be in my blood. My mom tells me when I was a baby, I was obsessed with flying. It's still true. It was a hobby. I went to undergrad at Cal, and then I did an MBA in Los Angeles, worked other jobs. All the while I still modeled part-time, because you can do it as well as being in school or working another job. That's
Right.
fine. A lot of people do. And so I was flying after my MBA. I worked for this oil company, a small one, and I flew for a hobby. And then I wanted to fly bigger, faster stuff. So that becomes a ludicrously expensive hobby, which I could not afford. So in the Great Recession of 2008, when there was basically no work, nothing to do,
Yeah.
I took off to Mesa, Arizona, and I got serious about flying. I got my commercial tickets, my flight instructor stuff, and then I taught at North Vegas Airport, not McCarran, not the big airport, but another one that's north of the Strip. And then I taught in LA, and then I've moved out here, and I'm looking to start teaching here. I'm learning the airspace, and I'm on the line with somebody here. I've also flown cargo for a company that was in Burbank, California. But I've never flown for airlines because that's full time. It wouldn't allow me to model, which I
Right.
still enjoy. So it's kind of it's something I love. Every time we rotate off the runway, I can't believe it's real. It's a miracle. And so I wanted to do something with a little more advancement, and I just can't afford to do it as a hobby.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I flew on the line part time to get somebody else to pay the bill.
Well, you're my shiro on that one. That's a dream of mine down the road, hopefully one day.
I
But
was
I'm so
like,
happy that you took the leap and did it. That is just amazing. Just
I've
absolutely
taught a
amazing.
lot of women who once they learned they could make that plane behave, they learned they could make a lot of things in their life go the way they
Go the
wanted.
way you want, I bet.
I've seen it. Yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
women, I'll tell you, we have a better safety record than men.
There you go. More reasons, you all. If anyone is like me, and that's a dream, let's consider it. We
Well,
only
you
have
can
one life to live.
at any airport near you, you can take a discovery flight and just see if you like it. It's not expensive, and they'll take you up and go around in the pattern, take off and land, and you can see if you enjoy it or not.
Well,
But
that's a
the view,
way to start. That's amazing, and something that you can do while modeling as well. Well, let's jump into modeling. So, share with us a little bit about how you got into modeling and what areas of specialty do you love? I mean, because there's a broad industry of modeling, right?
for sure. So yeah, it came like a lot of people, it found me. I was 14 and in a mall with my dad, and like the guy who scouted me, you think it's like some creep pervert, and there are plenty of those, but this wasn't. He was a real photographer who owned an agency. This is Northern California, so there wasn't a ton of opportunity like in Paris, New York, LA, Atlanta, but there was like the runway shows in the mall, small clothing tags and catalogs for small makers in like San Francisco area. So I started to do that as a teenager. My parents were very careful that the guy was on the up and up, came with me to shoots because I was a teenager. And I guess I got lucky that it was for real. And so I did a lot of that. And then I didn't keep growing. My whole family's tall, and I stopped at barely 5'6". So the
Oh,
runway and
man.
editorial ended up not available to me because I'm not tall enough. So I did more clothing, and then kind of got into the fitness thing when I moved to LA for grad school because it's kind of a fitness culture and I looked like that. Did the glamour. I've done Playboy. FYI, fans, Playboy has not been nude for a long time, and none of the covers I've done have been nude. So I mean, they've been sexy for sure, but
Yeah.
not naked. And there's nothing wrong with naked. There's nothing wrong with
Oh,
doing,
no, not at all.
but
Right.
it wasn't for me. So I navigated into like glamour in my 20s and 30s, which is pretty common when you're kind of super sexy and young-ish, but not a kid. And then fitness. And then as I've gotten into my 40s, it's been more glamour and clothing. And that genre will go into gray modeling, where it'll probably be more fashion, magazines, stills, and then broadcasting. I'm a chatty lady, so I like to do broadcasting.
You and me both. I think you'd be fantastic at it. I mean, I know you've already dipped your toe in the water with that, but yeah, I'm chatty as well, as you could tell. We were talking before and having such a great time when we
New
went
York,
to, oh, we better start this podcast. But yeah,
yeah, there's a lot of streaming networks. They always need people. I'm
always.
pretty extroverted, so we'll see where that goes or doesn't go. But yeah, there's a lot of genres, and I've enjoyed all of them. I enjoy being around creative people, the sort of right brain. The crew is the stylists and the makeup people and the lighting. Those are talents I do not have, and so those people fascinate me to see what they can create. They see in a way I just don't.
Yeah.
So I like to run them.
So let's get into to thank you for that, number one, and sharing that perspective. And let's talk about a little bit about some of the good and bad of the industry as well. I had when we were starting to right before the podcast, I had shared that I have a few friends that are seasoned, as we love to say, for us that are over 40. But she's in her 70s, I believe. She's thin, naturally gorgeous. She does have gray hair and everything, but she has said that while previously it was tough for models of a certain age or actresses of a certain age, now there seems to be a little bit more inclusion, and she's booked for a lot of like background roles in TV or commercials and photo shoots where they want great looking older individuals. And I remember just following, because I'm just like I said, an entertainment junkie. People were telling back in the my old days, they were saying how hard it was to get in and how you had to be, literally 10 pounds and all of that back in the olden days, if you will. So, can you give your perspectives on how it used to be versus how it is now? And what are some things that models of today have to watch out for?
Yeah. So we're getting there as we all are making strides with our efforts toward diversity and inclusion, whether that's age or race or body shape or, mental diversity. And I think the world needs us all. Mother Nature is a degenerate gambler rolling dice in a casino. She doesn't just one thing. She creates a lot of stuff. Look at the world. And
Right.
humans need to catch up and appreciate diversity because that's clearly what God or the ether favors.
Right.
We're just kind of stupid and judgy and scared of diversity, but we're getting there. And modeling's getting there. It's got a long way to go. It can shrink. I found as I get into my late 40s, there's this odd anger on the part of some people of how dare you still want to model like there's this sort of like shame on you for still wanting to be alive and relevant. You should just go roll over and die. And again, not all people act like that, but the ones who do, I've actually asked them like what is it about like older people that bugs you so much? This is a person who is far younger because you too will age if you don't die, you
Yeah.
weirdo.
Yeah.
Um so and this person said, look, we're all just scared of death. I said, okay, yeah, sure. It's the great unknown. We don't
Yeah.
know what the next adventure is. I hope it's good. We're all going to find out.
Yeah.
But that seems like a you problem if you're afraid of aging and death, because aging is a gift. I mean,
Yeah.
even if I might like to be able to get no sleep like in my 20s, I wouldn't want to be in my 20s. I like it better now.
I do too. I do
And for
too.
some reason, that makes some people angry that you're okay with aging. That said, we're pushing, we're getting there. The model industry has figured out that as long as you're good looking, people like to look at beauty. And that doesn't necessarily just have to be a 6 foot tall 16-year-old. That said, the beauty standards are still unrealistic. I was joking. I've been slightly hungry for 35 years. I don't like it, but they still like usually thin. And even when they like curvy, it's curvy in the right places, which might involve surgery or corsetry or,
Augmentation or
you are
something.
someone else's fantasy when they're looking at that photo to buy that bottle of perfume. And that fantasy, they want to think of themselves as this glamorous creature who's better looking. That's why there's Photoshop and filters. And we're not quite there yet. Makeup's still a thing. Hair, but it's better than it used to be. The exploitation and abuse, as I get older, I'm getting into some advocacy for workers' rights because modeling is an industry of a lot of people who are young and poor are the workers, and a lot of the people who own the clothing lines and the businesses are a lot older, a lot smarter, a lot richer, a lot more powerful. And so there are a lot of abuses, both sexual, there's creeps, there's underpayment, there's harassment, there's a lot of nonsense that goes on. And I think we can do better on workers' rights for models, but it's a legal issue because a lot of them aren't even 18. But there's people making strides in this. Some of my former retired models are doing great things in advocacy to address these issues, and I hope in the coming decades that we do better by the workers. We're trying. The obvious one, of course, particularly in editorial and runway, where the look is very thin, but even in fitness, are eating disorders. It's a real problem. And there's this pressure to lose weight, to be thinner, in fitness, to be more lean, and that creates some very disordered eating and even drinking habits that are definitely not good.
Yeah.
Lack of diversity, that was a bigger problem in decades past. As they say, demography is destiny. The demographics of America are changing for the better, and so you are seeing a more diverse representation of beauty, and I'm very excited to see that continue beyond my lifetime.
Oh, I hope so.
There's so many definitions of beauty,
Yes.
and it's all lovely. And so let's have it all. Why not? And we're definitely getting that one. We're making great strides on. We still have a way to go. When they put
Baby
a
steps.
blonde with light hair on a magazine, it still does sell more covers because you kind of just see the bright yellow hair first. Like when you're scrolling, light colors, it's the color wheel. Light colors come at the eye, dark
It
colors
catches
fade away.
your eye.
So unfortunately, light colored hair still just shows, but that is changing and hopefully it'll continue to do so.
Now, Amy, do you just manage yourself, or do you have other people that you manage as well?
I employ a lot of people, but I am a sole proprietorship. I don't have any official employees, but I employ a webmaster. I obviously lawyer, CPA, financial advisor team, but I do have an assistant who's the one you spoke to, who helps book stuff for me. And then I have a publicist who talks to editors for me. Because sometimes I also shoot my own photos that I own the rights to, and we shop up like stock, and
Ah,
people buy
okay.
them. Yeah, that's
Right.
something you can do. And you can actually make more than just signing away your rights to some photo that a magazine got a pull letter and hired you for.
And
So I do both. And so, yeah, I don't have formal employees, W-2s and 401ks, but I have many independent contractors that work with and for me.
fascinating. Now, do you have an agent? And if you don't, what made you not want an agent, which I know a lot of models use?
Yeah, I still get contacted by 10 or 12 agents a day. I have not because most of them want an exclusive, and I have found that nobody can do better for me than I can.
Oh, good for
However,
you.
because I was short, the agencies that really are the big heavyweights like Elite and the other giant ones that are 100 years old,
Yeah.
they didn't call me because I'm not tall enough for editorial. If they had called, I may have signed, but the agents that called me, they couldn't do better for me, and they were always shoving me toward doing like more nude, more smarmy, again, less than I could do for myself.
Right. Well, good.
So it
And you
just kind
took
of
it
happened
your
that way.
so you took your career in your own hands to try to kind of
I
manage
mean,
that. It just sounds like
yeah,
that was
so,
the work well.
agencies are great, and not for just for models, for makeup artists. The Cloutier agency will book them, but some crew like to stay independent and book their own. You do have to keep hustling when you're on your own, especially because since I have all the people that work for and with me, I have quite a bit of overhead. That's the way I decided to do it because just nobody ever could do better for me. But that's not the same for everybody. I know models who have like a husband and kids and they're super busy and they just want to go to shoots and they don't want to do all the back end stuff. So for them, an agent who does all that, and even if they make less take home, is probably better for them. And that's fine.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious about what are your recommendations for maybe those that are starting out in the modeling industry and they're having to really think through their finances, right? Because there's a lot associated with being a model. How can one be successful in the industry and not end up broke? I guess that's the question.
Yeah. Well,
Uh-huh.
the old tenet of no matter what you do, live beneath your means.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't live in Manhattan when I was in my 20s. I would have been homeless. So, and actually beware of lifestyle creep as you get older too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of industry gatekeeping. However, there's a lot of diversification now where models can build their own brand on social media and brands come to them based on their following and their popularity, not just their face and body. Yeah, you got to be good looking, of course. But if you're fascinating to people and the market's very pure, some people just have that star quality,
Yeah.
you can build your own brand. I think it's important to focus on your individuality because that's what keeps people interested is, what are you doing that others don't? In what way are you, your story, your uniqueness? I think embracing that instead of trying to fit in a mold and being confident about it in your abilities does set you apart. Social media didn't exist when I was first a model. There were gatekeepers that told you who you'd work for, and now you can try it yourself. Then, of course, the little things that are true of any job. Be professional. You always show up on time. Don't be late. Don't be a flake. Get your sleep the night before. When you're young and you want to party all night before a shoot, don't do that. You're gonna have puffy eyes. You're gonna look like garbage on set. You're
Yeah.
gonna get sent home. Your reputation in the industry matters. Everything's a small world. People talk. And I think Cindy Crawford, this iconic model from the 90s, she said indeed she was good looking, but the way she got rebooked was she was always on time. And a lot of models couldn't even do that. So
So
she
that
won.
really differentiated her from being on time and being reliable, right?
In the corporate world,
Mm.
80% of success is showing up.
Yeah,
That's it.
it is.
So the obvious, take care of your health and well-being. Nothing matters if you're not healthy, and stay on trend, updating fashion trends, posing techniques. It sounds really goofy and it kind of is, but you practice. You need to know your angles and your light. You need to know which way you look great. Because when you're on set, everybody just wants to wrap and go eat. So like you gotta, if you're a real pro, even if you just met these people, even if you don't like them, you need to be giving them hundreds of images that are all keepers as quickly and easily as you can. And the easier you are to work with, it's a business. They're
Yeah,
trying to sell a product. So do your job.
and you are
And
that product, right?
well, or the product is, and you're trying to make it look good, right? I
Yeah,
mean, you stand differently in a pair of flowy palazzo pants as you do in a tight bandage kind of dress, right? You need the mechanics of modeling. You need to know. You need to, if the light's different, if the feel is different. I mean, and you can practice all that at home. It seems weird and goofy again to do it at home, but that's part of the job so that you're not learning on set and wasting everybody's time. Time is money.
So,
Then
if we can quickly ask you, since a lot of us aren't obviously in this industry, what is a day in the life at a typical photo shoot? Just
so
at a highlight.
you're heading to set at the call time that they've given you on the call sheet. You're barefaced, you're in clothing that is not going to make marks on your skin. So, like, no jeans, like,
Interesting.
you've got your undergarments and shapewear in every kind of color, nude, white, black, for whatever you're going to be wearing. Sometimes, like, I'll bring us a couple sets of hair extensions if they want to add those, because I know it matches whatever my exact shade is at the time. Stylists will bring them, but they might be janky or not match. So it's good to have your own. And you're usually signing the release and getting in the chair, and then hour and a half of that. Meanwhile, stylists are setting up, looking at the backgrounds or the location to see where they're going to shoot, where the lights will go. And then when you step in front, yeah, ready. It's
Ready to
curtain up.
go.
You spend the most time with the makeup artist, so it's nice. Of course, you want to be pleasant to work with. You want to network wisely, because everybody talks, and if they like you on set, they'll recommend you for other stuff, right? And then if it didn't go well, it's really important to handle rejection gracefully that day and after. I've shot stuff that stayed in the can or went onto the cutting room floor and never went anywhere. And it's important not to have a tantrum about it, because it's really not about you. You're there to do a job. And if it's a diverse kind of clothing or product or modeling that you haven't done, it's okay to take direction. Some photographers like to give direction, some don't. It's important to ask them how they like to, because that tends to be the kind of boss on the set that day. And then, yeah, save your money, because you're going to do a lot of go-sees and you might not get another paid job for a while. So again, like I said earlier, it can be glamorous on the shoot day, but then you wipe the makeup off and take the subway home and realize that nobody cares about you, and
No,
that's okay.
not anymore.
You were a hired gun for a few hours.
So I'm curious, Amy, what are your plans? I mean, you mentioned, you're a model over 40. You still, get booked and reach out a lot. What are plans for Amy Taylor moving forward?
I mean, I don't know. I could retire tomorrow if I felt like it. But like I said, I'm enjoying a little bit of broadcasting. There's like streaming networks in this town, a lot of them like comedy, or I don't really like the politics stuff. I tried some, and it gives me stomach pain. I don't want to argue with people. So I don't think I'm going to get into like the blood sport debate kind of stuff. I don't like it. But I have aging parents that are on the other coast. If things go a certain way, I will need to be closer to them. So,
Sure.
and that could happen anytime. I'm not going to just stay around, having fun and working in Manhattan and not take care of my family. They brought me into this world.
Yeah.
Me and my sister are going to take them home.
Nice.
So at some point, I'm surely going to need to go back to Northern California, and I don't know exactly when that'll be,
Sure.
but I'll be ready to pull that trigger when that time comes, depending upon how it goes. My family is the most important thing in the world for me. They don't love that I did the cover of Playboy, but they love me. And in spite of all my flaws and nonsense, that's a grace that I don't deserve and I cannot repay.
Oh,
So in these
I bet
coming
you deserve it. They love you no matter
I
what.
mean, thanks. No, family's it for me, and not for everybody, and that's fine. And family can be who you build, your friends, that's fine. But for me, my blood relatives are number one. So where my life goes, that'll be my first priority. And beyond that, so I'll probably live in Northern California within the next few years. But again, I'm not exactly sure how that'll go.
No,
And
that
at
makes
that time,
sense.
maybe I'll retire. Maybe I'll go teach yoga or become a dog walker. I don't know. We'll see.
The world's your oyster, so you'll see what comes your way, right?
I mean, it'd be nice to fall in love again. I just got out of that about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I'm trying to date. It's hell out there. If your partner irritates you, just stay with them, because it sucks out.
That's what my daughter says. It's tough on the dating scene out there. I mean, I'm married, but she's like, "Mom, it's rough out in these streets trying to date someone."
And he's annoying. Just if it's not terrible, just be like, all right, whatever. But I joke. If I find love again, that may change things. But if not, I'll have love. I'll have a million little old lady friends. We'll have little tiny dogs. We'll just be crazy. Wear pearls to bed. Go have tea all day. I mean, I'm sure that I won't be lonely,
I'm
whatever
sure you
form.
won't either. There was one other thing I want to make sure I touched base on during our conversation, and I know you're very passionate about, sustainability and ethical issues in modeling. And I didn't ever connect sustainability with modeling before. So, what kinds of environmental concerns are related to the fashion industry, and how can models speak up and speak out about it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there are a lot of problems. So, fast fashion, our grandmothers wore stuff for decades and repaired it. And things were made better and they were made to last. And the fast fashion world, driven by the fact that people photograph themselves all the time and don't want to wear the same stuff twice.
Yeah.
I understand that, girly. New York, Atlanta fashion girlies who want to be in a different outfit every time. I get it. But that's created like chemical problems in the processing, landfill problems in the disposal. There's been some great companies that have been involved in the rental space, the rent the runways and all those.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not perfect. And I think there are some wonderful models that are challenging the unsustainability of fashion. They're talking more about thrifting and sharing clothing with your friends and renting and doing what you can to not contribute to the environmental damage the clothing business is causing.
Oh, interesting. I've read a lot of articles and, seen a lot of, folks talk on like YouTube and things about like, and I know I'm mispronouncing it, but Shein and all those that are those that fast mass produce and the quality of them. And so I've heard a few things about the sustainability concerns around those as well. But I was just
Yeah.
curious,
Well,
your
and
perspective.
the
So that
labor issues, the reason your sweats are $2.50
child labor
is
overseas,
there's
right?
yeah, there's abuse. There's abuse of a human, there's abuse of the earth. Nothing's free, folks.
No, it
Uh,
is. You may not want to see where it comes from and how it's produced.
can resist. I get an outfit that's basically disposable. I'm not shaming us. We've all done it.
Yeah.
But the motto is buy less and buy quality. And if you buy capsule investment pieces, they're not as memorable. A great black dress, you can wear it more than once, ladies. It's not that big of a deal.
I've
Um,
worn them many times.
Me too. I
But
mean,
I'm not a fashionista at all. My daughter is, you are. I'm t-shirts and flip-flops kind of gal. So
I went and walked my dog before this, so I'm
yeah,
wearing like
you're
sweatpants. But yeah,
you're
I
great.
try to buy investment pieces and wear them for years if possible because I don't want to participate in that. But my niece, she's 19 and she likes to thrift, and it's a big part because she loves the earth. She's a surfer in California and
Yeah,
she wants to try to
true.
do her little part if she can.
A lot
So,
of the young Gen Zs and stuff, they love thrifting. That's a new big thing now.
yeah,
So that's
and all
awesome.
businesses that cause environmental degradation can and need to do better. The oil business
Absolutely.
had its problem, technology has its problem. There's too
Almost every
much.
industry you could point to something that could be better, to your point. So
Yeah.
whatever your sliver of the world, that's where you need to focus and have advocacy around, definitely.
New Yorkers, they eat outside standing up and then they just just throw it on the street. And that's why we have a rat problem.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's one
I mean,
thing that I love New York. I've been millions of times and naturally have to when I do consulting. That's the one downfall because I can't stand critters.
yeah,
Bad critters like that. Rats drive me
yeah.
insane.
We made a trash buffet for them every night. So what did you
Oh,
expect, New Yorkers? So
yeah.
yeah, it's
I
odd. New Yorkers complain about the filth, but then they don't
They're
deal with
not
their
helping it
trash
out.
normally the way they do in Tokyo or other cities that
Oh
are
my
far cleaner.
gosh.
Our
So
mayor's
totally
trying to
different. Yes.
our mayor's trying to tell people like, "Hey, hello, trash can, weirdos." But
You're so
baby
right.
steps.
Well, I know we're closing out on time, unfortunately, Amy. This has been fabulous having you on. But before I let you go, we always love to ask our guests which of the leadership tactics I write about in my book really resonated for you. And you were so kind to share that leading with strategic decision making really resonated with you. And for my new listeners out there, strategic decision making is just what it is. It's all about making good decisions yourself or leading a good decision making process with others. And so Curious Minds want to know, Miss Amy, why does strategic decision making really resonate with you? I bet I can guess being in modeling because it's probably full of making decisions all day, every day on different aspects, but I'd love to hear it in your words.
Yeah, your book is so great that it talks about that. And yes, your world is more from the corporate office world, but even if one is self-employed working with big corporations, you make a lot of decisions as a model when you're young and you don't have the leverage. You're not the one with the power. But it's very important to remember life is long, and even though you want the job, not all money is good money. And if somebody's being creepy or pushing your boundaries on set, trying to sneak photos of you changing, that it happens, that you can stand up for yourself. And yeah, it's play chess, not checkers.
There you go.
If you think a little longer term about what will happen later, and no one's saying you operate, with fury and make the set an uncomfortable place. But I think being a good representative of yourself and your future is vital. And if
Exactly.
not, if you're under 18, your parent can help you. If you're over 18, you can bring a friend to set. I've done that. I shot with a creepy photographer once. I threw the makeup artist $20 and told her, don't leave till I leave. And
Excellent.
nothing happened, but he was a creep. And I just wanted to make sure he couldn't be a creep. And so that preventative thinking of, don't take jobs that might harm you later.
Right.
You can have another job if you need a other stable income, or, curb your expenses. I think in general, to the point of your book, it's hard to think long term when you don't know the path. But if you can try to play chess mentally of where could this go, you can make decisions that are less in the moment and less made out of any kind of desperation or short-term thinking.
I love that. I love that. Well, Amy, we're going to have a ton of information about you, your bio, where people can find you in our show notes. But I always love to give airtime to our guests that you can tell the listeners themselves. So yourself. So can you please share where folks can learn more about Miss Amy Taylor?
Oh, yeah. I'm just on pretty much all the socials. I'm Amy Taylor NYC. So
Amy
you can
Taylor,
find me.
NYC. And she has a fabulous website too, you all. So we'll have a link to that as well in the show notes. But thank you so much, Amy, for the gift of your time, and continue doing what you're doing, because you're a superstar in my book in your area of modeling. And it's fantastic. You satisfy my own little curiosity about the good, bad, and spicy in modeling.
Yeah, there's a lot of all of that. And it's an honor to talk to you. I hope there will be more organized and ethical structures for models, unions and workers' rights. And as I stay an old battle axe in the business, I'm going to continue to work for that, because we need structures that help workers' rights in the same way the corporate world has been ahead of us.
Absolutely. And I hope for that too. All right. Well, and thank you to listeners for the gift of your time as well. It's been great having you. We know there are literally millions of other podcasts you can be listening to, so we do not take your time lightly. Please be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast, and just share it with just one friend, so that we all can do better about leading at the top of our own games. Thanks so much, and see you next week. And that's our show for today. Thank you for listening to the Lead at the Top of Your Game podcast, where we help you lead your seat at any employer, business, or industry in which you choose to play. You can check out the show notes, additional episodes, bonus resources, and also submit guest recommendations on our website at leadyourgamepodcast.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn by searching for the name Karan Rhodes, with Karan being spelled Karan. And if you like the show, the greatest gift you can give would be to subscribe and leave a rating on your podcast platform of choice. This podcast has been a production of Shockingly Different Leadership, a global consultancy which helps organizations execute their people, talent development, and organizational effectiveness initiatives on an on-demand project or contract basis. Huge thanks to our production and editing team for a job well done. Goodbye for now.